All right, let's go. All right. So did anybody here get 20 people to the very first info session they did and had every person sign up, and they've been absolutely rocking it ever since? Right? So I think, well, I did ask an entire room full of people in Salmon Arm, and not a single hand went up. And I think that's normal. I think that is typical, right? Like, nobody has 20 people show up at their first event and they all sign up. That's just not how it works. But we somehow get this idea in our head that that's how it's supposed to work. And then the second it doesn't, we start beating ourselves up and wonder if we're actually going to succeed. And then you just start, the head games start immediately, right? Because we have this idea in our head of what we think it's going to look like. But the truth is that giant knock it out of the park, immediate success stories, they're not normal. So you need to stop comparing yourself to other people. And you definitely need to stop comparing yourself to how you think it should go and the idea that's in your head. It's your journey, so stop comparing yourself at all. And it's easy, I mean, to look, right? You can look at me and be like, oh, she's a platinum, whatever. She hit it in 24 months. It must have been easy. It wasn't easy, you guys. My first info session, I asked Jillian to do because people kept asking me questions. Like, I was running my mouth all over the place about how great these oils were, but I had no details or information to give anybody. I was just like, these are awesome. You need to try them. And when people would be like, okay, but what can you tell me? I was like, I don't know, but they're awesome. And so for some people, that was enough to get them to sign up. But for most people, it wasn't. So people wanted more information. So I reached out to Jillian because her and Adam had presented the info session that I signed up at. So I just assumed she would be who had to do my info session. So I reached out to her. At that time, she was in Red Deer. I was in Westlock. Like, that's 2.5 hours apart. And she agreed to come do an info session for me. When push came to shove, I couldn't get one single person to commit to actually showing up. So I had to cancel on her. Like, she was willing to drive 2.5 hours each way to do an info session, and I had to cancel on her. Like, it's crazy. So then I went and asked Catherine because I didn't dare ask Jillian again. Her first info session that she did for me, I had 2 people show up. One person signed up, and the other person signed up like 6 months later. It wasn't an overnight success by any stretch. And then one of my friends, because I'd been running my mouth on Facebook, sent me a message and said, hey, you know, I've done some home-based business stuff over the past few years. You've always supported me. How about I invite a bunch of friends over? You guys drive into Edmonton and do an info set or do a party for me. And I was like, that sounds awesome. I would love it if you'd host a party. So we walk in, there's like 7 ladies there, which, I mean, my first one I had nobody show up at. My second one had 2. So when we walked in and there were 7 ladies there, I was like, I thought I was the man. And I was counting the money that was going to go in my wallet before I even got all the way through the door. I thought I was a rock star. And Catherine and I were going to just do amazing things. One person signed up, my friend. That's it. Not one of the people there that I didn't know signed up. And my friend actually asked for her money back a couple of days later when her husband found out how much money she'd spent. So at that point, I decided I couldn't ask Catherine or anybody else to do my info sessions for me anymore because I was way too embarrassed. I decided I needed to suck it up and start doing them for myself. And I think my first one, I had 2 people out. One was already a member and she brought somebody who signed up. And the one after that, again, maybe 2 or 3 people. I did month after month after month after month of info sessions for 2 or 3 people here and there, 2 and 3 people here and there, 2 and 3 people here and there. And it eventually got bigger. It eventually progressed to monthly meetings in Westlock where, you know, we had over 50 people there. but it didn't happen overnight. And if I had quit, it wouldn't have happened at all. It was just I was willing to be bad at something long enough until the point where I eventually got better. And even once I got better, I still go to do info sessions for people, and I show up and the host has 2 people show up. I just look at it as whatever, 2 people's better than nobody, right? Like, because you never know which one of those 2 people are going to absolutely decide to knock it out of the park. Every exposure is a good exposure. You just need to go into it with a good attitude. Like, the number one thing you can do is to just keep going. Keep inviting, keep hoping, keep hosting, keep reaching out to others to see if they're interested in having you present a session for them. It'll probably take you at least 2 years to get to everybody in your circle, in your warm market. And that's okay. Your warm market probably won't dry out because it takes forever to get to everybody. And it's very unusual for you to find an info session that everybody's going to be able to make it to. It almost never happens. So if you can kind of tweak your expectations a little bit and lose that sense of disappointment when, 10 people don't show up to an info session, you're a lot better off. So I'm 3.5 years in. I still have friends who are members for that matter, who've never heard any of my presentations. Everybody has their own time frame. But I think if you believe that everybody has their own time frame, you can be motivated and you can have a sense of urgency without coming across as desperate. I think when that desperation comes across is when you start to think, oh my gosh, my warm market's drying up. I have to suddenly sign everybody I know up this exact second because they're not going to be there. You can be motivated without being desperate. They're 2 different things. I genuinely believe that everyone has their own time frame. There's more than enough people out there for everybody. And I think it's about having a mindset that's based on abundance instead of a mindset that's based on scarcity. Having said that, it would be cool to get more people to your info sessions. So let's go over some tips for you and some tips for some of your members too. And let's just read. So Megan says, I had someone sign up last night that I've talked to numerous times over the past year. She tried to come to numerous events, but the date and time never worked. Absolutely. Everyone has their own, or last month, everyone has their own time frame, right? Like, it's just about finding the right date and the right time that finally clicks for somebody. And that's why I decided to not do our Zoom calls on the same night and the same time every week, because you're never going to find a time that works for everybody. So at least this way, if we kind of like rotate through, we'll catch some of the people some of the time. We're never going to catch everybody, but at least this way we aren't automatically excluding someone every time. So the first thing you need to do, and you guys, these aren't just tips for you. These are also things you should be coaching your hostesses on, because the better their info session turnout is, the more people they can get there for you to speak to, the faster your team grows. So don't just take these little bits of information and store them in the back of your head. Actually coach your hostesses on how to do this. So the first thing you need to do is make your invitation personal. Do not, I cannot tell you this enough times, do not just set up a Facebook event, invite everybody on your friends list, and then pat yourself on the back and think you're done. 95% of the people you invite will probably never reply to that information, to that invitation, if they even bother to read it. By the way, I totally made that stat up because I only open about 5% of the Facebook invitations I get. It's a totally made up stat based on my observation and experience. I get invited to events all the time. I actually open about 5% of them, especially if I get it on my phone, because it's a pain in the butt and I'm probably doing something else and think I'll get back to it later and then don't. So just keep that in mind. If you are sending A Facebook invitation? I wish you wouldn't. Just pick up the phone instead. If you are going to send a Facebook invitation, though, you need to find a reason to make it compelling enough for them to actually click on that event and open it. So you need to tweak with the title and stuff like that. But I think a better strategy is to pick up the phone, send a text, at the very least, send them a cute send them a personal Facebook message, but don't do an event. It's a pain in the butt. Nobody pays attention to them, and people will RSVP or click maybe or hit interested and then never look at that event again if they open it at all in the first place. Some people have had success with making up cute little invitations to hand out in person to people. You guys all know me. You know I am not artsy, craftsy, graphicsy, so I don't do that. That's not my thing. But there are some people who've had success with that. For those of you who are Oil Revolution Designs members, there may be some graphics out there that cover that stuff. If there are, go ahead and use them, print them out, hand them out. Get any way you can get more people to an info session is a good thing. Don't forget to pick up the phone or resend that message the day before or the morning of your event. You need to remind people. People are busy. They forget stuff. So make sure they remember. Yeah, it might mean an extra hour of work to text or phone everybody, but isn't that better than going to all the work in the first place to have the event and then having nobody show up? If the event is not at your house, like if it's at a third-party location and you've got people you've invited, offer to pick them up. If you can give somebody a ride, they're a lot less likely to say no or to come up with excuses because suddenly you're on their doorstep and they have to get into your car and go with you. Getting people to the event is honestly half the battle. You want to come up with some kind of promo or fun play on words or something to encourage those guests to bring friends. And you don't need to spend a ton of money to make that happen. It can be something really small. You can you can make bath salts in a little container with some lavender or something in them and offer to give those as a party favor for people who bring guests. Like that's a minimal amount of money to do that. You can do something really cheap and fun like that. Like you don't need to go and spend $20 a person on prizes in order to encourage people to come. You can do something really small. Just something, right? The other thing you want to do is play with the wording of your event to make it more appealing to a specific set of people. If you've got friends who are very information driven, like Celine and I, you can call it an Essential Oils 101 information session. If you have friends that are super social and it's a Saturday night, call it an oily party. I've had some really great success with Saturday night wine and oily chat parties. And the only thing you need to do is if there's wine there, you might want to shorten up your presentation and look for ways to keep it shorter. Because as soon as there's wine, the attention spans, they shrink considerably. But it's all good. Whatever you can do to get people there, do it. So the next thing you want to think about doing is how to tweak your actual info session to get more signups. So we've covered on how to get more people there. So now how do you convert more of those people to actual signups? The first thing you need to do is check your mindset. You can't think of what you're doing as selling. You need to 100% own that you are sharing something amazing that every single person deserves. Not needs, deserves. Everybody deserves to have these oils in their lives. You need to believe in the value of the premium starter kit. Don't ever apologize, even in your head, for the cost of the starter kit. Show them the value. Don't apologize. Show them the value. The kit is worth more than double the price, so you need to own how amazing that is and what a great deal it is. Keep it simple, you guys. Don't word vomit the reference guide at them. Most people don't care about phenols, monoterpenes, sesquiterpenes, and all that other stuff. You guys know me. I am as green, information-driven, anal retentive as they possibly come, and the science puts me to sleep. I really don't care about any of it. So if I don't care about it, how many people in that room do? Like, it's limited. It's very, very limited. And if you find that there is somebody who wants to know about that stuff, you can direct them to the EODR, to the Essential Oils Desk Reference, and let them look it up for themselves, because they're probably going to need to look it up for themselves anyways if they're that information driven. That's just how our brains work. We need to see it for ourselves and not take somebody else's word for it anyways. But what happens is if you start talking about that science, most of the people in that room will completely tune out, and it can be really, really tough to get their attention back. So I recommend just keeping it as simple as possible. Even the Sea to Seal stuff, if you've heard some of Danny Johnson's stuff, she specifically says, nobody cares. You guys are passionate about Seed to Seal, but nobody else cares. So just look for ways to shorten your presentation up and focus on what people want to know about, as opposed to what we think we need to tell people. You also want to keep it reasonably short. Like, don't think you can stand up at the front of the room and talk at people for 90 minutes. You're going to lose them. You're going to watch their eyes glaze over and have them just sitting there being like clicking their fingers, waiting for you to be done. After about 30 minutes, you've completely surpassed most people's attention spans. You really have. Especially if wine is involved. I guarantee if wine is involved on a Saturday night, you've got them for maybe 20 minutes tops. I find if you shorten it up, you are far more likely to keep them interested and be able to close them. The other thing you want to do is you want to keep it duplicable. The easier your presentation is, the more likely other people will be to believe the more likely other people will believe that they can do it too. You want to use the tools that already come in the premium starter kit so that everybody in the room realizes the kit has everything they need to share. And make it fun. Let your personality shine through. Go ahead, crack jokes, have a good time, laugh, have fun. People are drawn to people who are being themselves and people who are having fun and being authentic. If you sit at the front of the room with this script and you just talk like this and you are in a monotone and you are terrified and you just want to spew all this information at people so that you can turn around and leave, they're not going to want to listen to you. That's not going to inspire anybody. If you look like you're having fun, and don't just look like you're having fun, figure out a way to actually make it fun for yourself. But as awesome as being duplicable is to build your business, being fun is too, because you want people in that room to not only think, I can do that, but to have people in that room think, oh, that doesn't just look easy. That looks fun. I can do that. And you know what? I think I want to do that. It makes a big difference. Jen, I use the premium starter kit. I only use the PowerPoint in the virtual office when I'm doing Zoom sessions, because I don't have the oils to pass around to people. I'm sure it is Megan, but I don't know if they have a date on the PowerPoint yet. And I'm sure the essential oils at a glance, which is what I've been using for my home presentations lately, is I just pull out that essential oils at a glance that comes in the starter kit, and I cover that. And then you're only talking about like 2 things on each oil, and it goes a lot faster and smoother. And then throwing in some compliant testimonials in there too. But I'm sure that will be updated with the NHP claims. Yeah, I'm sure it's being updated at some point. We just don't know when or how long. Everything's a process. They couldn't update it ahead of time, because if they update it ahead of time and then Health Canada dragged their feet, then we wouldn't be able to release any PSKs to anybody because it would have non-compliant information in it. So I get why there's the delay, because they have to wait for step 1 before they can do step 2. Otherwise, step 2 could completely derail everything and mean nobody had access to anything if step 1 got delayed. So it's a process. I get it. I know we don't have a timeline on it yet, but they are working on it all. Don't forget to talk about ER, guys. It doesn't make any sense to go to all the work to sign up 10 people at one info session and then have none of them on ER, because then you're starting all over again from scratch the next month. So make sure you talk about it. Make sure you talk about it as a loyalty program. And same thing, I've just been using that piece of paper in the premium starter kit, the thing with the coupons on it, the information on there. Talk about a little bit about the ER information that comes on the set. It makes it a lot easier. It really does. And then you can move into the closing stuff. This is, I think, where most people struggle. It's like you talk about everything that's in the kit, you talk about the business, you talk about ER, and then you have no idea how to wrap up what you're talking about. You just completely freeze. What I like to do is let the guests know right in my close that they can get their kit paid for by simply sharing with 3 or 4 friends in the same month that they sign up. I was taught, so I used to be a travel agent for like 10 years ago. That makes me sound really old, but just ignore that part. I was taught to simply assume the sale. That's what I was taught. Don't ask a bunch of questions. Don't keep yapping at people long after they've already made up their minds to buy a kit. Just assume the sale. So I do this at trade shows all the time. I'll be like, okay, well, we've got, a kit here on hand. Did you want to go ahead and take it with you right now? Like, I didn't give them the option to say yes or no. I asked them, did you want to take your kit right now? I assumed they want a kit. I didn't ask the question if they wanted one or not. I found it to be helpful, but the reason I can do it is because I believe in it. I believe the kit is in the value of the kit. I believe everybody needs one. So it just makes sense to me to assume the sale. I mean, of course, everybody wants a premium starter kit. Duh. So I'll say something like, okay, I know y'all want your oily box of awesomeness, and I have order forms and pens right here, like depending on wherever that station is set up. And I'll say kits ship from Calgary. You'll have them in a week or so. I'll be like here at the back or on the side or wherever I'm going to be if you need any help filling them out. If you have any questions, I'm here to help, so just come get me. What I don't do is open it up to questions to the entire room, because if all it takes is one negative person with a crappy attitude to turn that entire room around, and you want to get people filling out their forms right away, not sitting there waiting for other people to ask questions. And what you really don't want to have happen is have somebody who has 80 questions, and then by the time they're finally done talking, everybody who wanted a kit is now in a hurry to get out the door. So I try to wrap it up quickly and then move over out of the way so that the people who do have questions can come and talk to me over there, and I can do it. And I know somebody here is probably going to point out that kits ship from Calgary, they'll have them in 3 or 4 days or 2 or 3 days, depending where they live. Here's something else I was taught when I was in sales: under promise, over deliver. So if I tell somebody they're going to get their kit in about a week and they get it in 2 days, they are over the moon thrilled, and they think I'm a rock star, and they think Young Living is amazing. If I tell someone they're going to get their kit in 2 days and they get it in 4, they're mad. So it's about managing expectations right out of the gate, if that makes any sense. And the easiest way to manage expectations is to underpromise, overdeliver. And a lot of the times it feels life. Everybody, every retail situation out there, almost every opportunity is the other way around, where people are full of promises and claims that they don't deliver on. So I just like to turn it around and make it the other way around so that people are happy when they get stuff. Does anybody have any questions for me? No, not a single person. Cool beans. I yapped quickly. So the reason I wanted to talk about info sessions when we did the salmon arm thing was because the theme of the entire event was supposed to be our aha moment. And my aha moment came right after I'd hit executive, like about a week later. I was at a business builders event in Red Deer. It was my first ever business builders event, probably my first big event at all, actually. And at that point in time, I think it was definitely less than 20, like maybe 12 silvers in all of Canada. And 10 of them were in the room. Like they were almost all green team. And it was really, really, really cool and really inspiring. And at that time, Heather Dahl had just hit silver in I don't remember what she was, something ridiculous, like 43 days from startup to silver. It was a Young Living record at the time. It's since been broken multiple times, once by someone on her actual team. But so she was there, she just hit it. And I thought she must have some secret sauce, right? And you guys know me, you know I'll ask the questions that nobody else wants to. So I flat out asked her, I was like, what is your secret? What are you doing that we don't know about? What's going on? And I pretty much cornered her and made her answer me. And her answer was simply activity. And I was like, oh, whatever. And she was like, no, listen, I am doing presentations 6 nights a week. And I've been doing 6 presentations, 6 or 7 nights a week since I first started. She drove from Red Deer to Saskatchewan and back in a night. She didn't even sleep over. She just turned around and drove right back. And so I remember going up to my room and thinking, okay, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can realistically do 6 or 7 presentations a week. But if I'm being honest with myself, I can do a lot more than what I'm doing right now. So I went home and I figured out what I could do. And for me, my number was 3 to 4 intro sessions a week that I was willing to commit to hit silver in 6. And so I started immediately trying to fill my calendar. And this is what Action April is all about, you guys, is filling your calendar and just going for it. I didn't let myself get paralyzed by the fear of, what if nobody shows up? What if my info session isn't perfect? I didn't factor any of the logistics into my actual plan of attack. My plan of attack was simply to do 3 to 4 info sessions a week for at least, I was planning on doing it for at least 4 or 5 or 6 months, because I had been executive for a week at that time. And so that's what I did. I just set up to fill up my calendar with 3 to 4 intro sessions a week. And I hit silver with the next month. So that was the first weekend in March. I hit silver before the end of April. Completely by activity. I had no clue what I was doing as far as leading, as far as empowering, as far as motivating other people to do anything. It was just activity. Simply action-based, nothing else. I wasn't analyzing. I wasn't tracking stats. I wasn't evaluating my performance in any way, shape, or form. I was just doing. And that is really what I intended the heart of Action April to be, is to just do. That's it. just do and forget about the rest of it. Just do it. That is golden. Thank you, Dana. Does anybody have any questions? No? Speak now, forever hold your peace, forever hold your peace, because I've been talking for 32 minutes and I'm about done. All right, we're going to shut it down.
I just wanted to say hi.
Hi.
I had kids and I was late. Bohey gave me the wrong time.
How about you just get off of this call and go book your flights?
Okay, I'll do that.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Am I making you nervous?
A little bit, yeah.
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 Okay, I'll do that.
See you guys.
That would be why Angela booked my flights for me.
Yeah, otherwise she'd be in the exact same boat as you, Janine.
I'm doing it tomorrow night with Pauline. Bree just booked her, so she's good.
Woo!
I know.
All right.
All right.
You guys.